The Smogon World Cup is one of the most prestigious tournaments on Pokemon Showdown, and because of that, I want to play in it. There's just one problem. My country is not in the tournament. In fact, when we tried to qualify last year, we finished dead last. We were quite literally the worst team in the world. Here's how the Smogon World Cup works. There's the main event and a qualifier stage. Every year, the worst 4 teams drop into qualifiers, and any new teams start there too. Each team brings a lineup. 5 SVOU players plus 1 for SV Ubers, SVUU, SS, SM, and ORAS-OU. Every player gets 2 opponents and 3 weeks to play. Whichever teams finish with the best combined records qualify for the main tournament. This means that qualifying depends on the strength of your whole team combined, as well as consistency, instead of just 1 or 2 players being able to carry a team. I'm from the Netherlands, and we're not exactly known for being a Pokemon powerhouse. We actually had a national team years ago, and in 2019 I was one of the captains. And we were this close to qualifying for the World Cup. In our final qualifying series, we were tied 4-4 against Team Asia, best of 9. The last game, it was me. I had to play DPP-OU against Deep Blue Sea, a SPL veteran and one of the best players in the tier. The early game went rough, but I clawed my way back into a position where I actually had a chance to win. And then I timed out. That was the most painful loss of my entire Pokemon career. 13-year-old me couldn't handle it. I literally deleted our team Discord out of rage and I quit Smogon for half a year because of it. And to make things worse, we weren't even the only Dutch players in the tournament. Some of the better Dutch players played for Team Europe, a team made of players from European countries that didn't have their own World Cup team. Basically, everyone on Team Netherlands wasn't considered good enough for them. Fast forward to 2024. A player named Quinn asked me to co-captain the Dutch team with him. I don't think he knew about my traumatic last attempt. After 5 years, I was finally returning to the World Cup. I was probably one of our bigger names, but only known for PU and older generations like DPP, not the formats played in the World Cup. We barely scraped by to gather enough players for a team and had to pick roles. Even though I was actually pretty good at UU at the time, I wanted to play OU and pass teams to whoever ended up playing UU. I trained a ton on the OU ladder, but in my first game I got unlucky and lost. In the second game, I got absolutely destroyed by a much stronger player. Even if I won those games, it wouldn't have mattered. We finished qualifiers with 4 wins and 16 losses. Dead last. After all those failures, I was done with it. Every year I underperformed. Every time my team needed me, I let them down. At this point, I didn't even deserve to play in the World Cup at all. But that's exactly why I wanted another shot. I didn't want to be remembered as the guy who timed out, and I didn't want Dutch players to be seen as Team Europe rejects forever. It was time for me to finally step up and do my part, and it was time for the Netherlands to finally prove we belong on the World Cup stage, or at least do better than last year. Now it's 2025 and our lineup looks a bit different. We picked up a few new recruits and several of us, including me, had improved a lot since the last year. But even with that, the expectations for the Netherlands were still pretty low. This time I decided to actually play UU. I had played it months before in the UU World Cup and also practiced it a lot with my teammates in UUPL, so I was pretty comfortable with the meta. My opponents for qualifiers were Space Speakers and Rahel. They aren't superstars of the tier, but definitely strong, reliable players for their teams. My approach to UU prep was not to build my own teams, but instead trying out the teams my UUPL teammates used, so I started laddering. A lot. One of our newcomers, Axel, got to play our first match of qualifiers, which also happened to be the very first game of the entire tournament. Just 4 days into qualifiers, it was up to him to set the tone for our team, and he had a very tough opponent, PKL Sweet for You, someone who played in the biggest tournaments like SPL. Axel brought a hyper-offensive sticky web team and was fully prepared for a taunt lead like this Great Tusk ended up being, but he misses the stun spore. He gets the webs up anyway and then basically sacks Gholdengo just to make sure Great Tusk cannot rapid spin them off. We all revenge kills but then gets taken out by Iron Moth. Pikachu sees an opportunity and tries to set up with Dragonite while Axel sacks Ribombee. Axel's team looks very weak to this Dragonite, so Pikachu commits and terras it. But he doesn't expect the tech we had, Roar Great Tusk. We sack our Tusk afterwards and now Iron Moth gets a clean switch in. We click Fiery Dance, which has a 50% chance to boost special attack. Pikachu goes back into Dragonite to revenge kill with extreme speed, but we're one step ahead with Terra Ghost. We finish the Dragonite with 2 more Fiery Dances, but we don't get a single special attack boost. If even one of those 3 boosted, the game was over right there. Because of that, Walking Wake is still out of range. Gholdengo comes in next. It already showed Hex, so it probably has Thunder Wave too. Axel predicts this and goes for Substitute. He sets up a sword stance behind his sub and wins the game. Our second game came 6 days later, a clean win in SSOU. 3 days after that, we played our first ORAS-OU match. We definitely got lucky in that one, but a win is a win. Later that day, OGR played and unfortunately took our first loss of the season. Still, our start was strong. While my teammates played, I just kept laddering for my own matches, but there was one big problem. Right before Qualifiers started, Rillaboom dropped the UU. Not only was Rillaboom strong on its own, but thanks to Grassy Surge, it perfectly supported setup sweepers using Grassy Seed. It turned out to be completely broken, and it did get banned. But the ban came after Qualifiers had already begun, meaning we couldn't practice with or against it on the ladder. I didn't even want to use it myself, but I was paranoid about facing it. I could still test against it in private games, but unfortunately no one else on Team Netherlands played UU, so I kind of just had to cope. Luckily, I had already chosen my first team, one used by my former UUPL teammate, Richard Millie Plain. It matched my playstyle, and I felt very comfortable piloting it. OJR redeemed himself by winning his second match, putting it as 4-1. We had already tied our total wins from last season in just 5 games. Of course, that start meant nothing unless we kept winning. Finn was up next, using the same Sticky Webs team that OJR had won with. His opponent thought he was safe with Magic Bounce Hatterene and Rapid Spin Great Tusk, but we had techs prepared for both. With our team up 5-1, it was finally my turn to play. At team preview, I immediately noticed that a few of my threats, like Latios and Thunderous, looked quite strong here. But I realized that I had to be careful of his Gallade and Greninja. I figured he would want to lead Tornadus, since even in its worst matchups against my team, he can just safely U-turn out. Because of that, I decided to lead Thunderous. He doesn't have a great switch in for this, but Donphan can deal with Thunderous somewhat in the short term depending on the set. I read the Donphan switch and punished with Grass Knot, which not every Thunderous runs, so I'm guessing he didn't predict it. I killed it the next turn. I saw someone in the UU Discord saying it was a mistake to Grass Knot again because it made me take Rocky Helmet damage, but if you look at my set, I'm not risking clicking Focus Blast just to take a bit less damage. He switches in Gallade, which I was worried about at team preview. Not just because it hits hard, but because it's never used in this tier, so I had no idea what to expect. Was it a Wall Breaker, Agility, Voice Scarf, Assault Vest? I didn't know, so I tried to get a full switch off and died in the process. I pressured him a bit with low kicks by making some safe plays, which led to him tricking his Scarf onto my Tornadus with Gallade. I kept going through the motions as he got a nice read with low kick on my Heatran, and I didn't get bailed out with a Flame Body Burn. I turned on the aggression myself afterwards and picked up a Focus Blast kill on the Arcanine. Nothing major happened for the next few turns. I got Heatran into a decent spot but missed some Magma Storms. Then I got a little too comfortable with Gastrodon, and he correctly predicted my recovery with Taunt when I started getting low. This did let me kill his Tornadus with my own, but at this point I didn't have a great switch in for Greninja. I sacked my Heatran, but he overpredicted and clicked Ice Beam again. At this point I just played the safest route I could think of and ended up closing out the battle. To cap the day off, we even won our first Ubers game, ending the day 7-1 for our team. Still, qualifiers are never decided until the last day, and things were about to get much harder. The day after, only Quinn played. He decided to use stall, and his opponent unfortunately had the same idea. We ended up losing after 412 turns. Coincidentally, on this day I had also decided to use a stall team for my own game. Day 18 kicked off with my teammate Ifar losing his first game, and then it was once again time for me to play. I didn't exactly run into the best matchup for a stall team though. My team didn't have a way to remove hazards, meanwhile his team had spikes, rapid spin for my spikes, multiple knockoff users, and regenerator mons that didn't take hazard damage. In the early game, I basically had to let tornadoes put a lot of pressure on me. The best switch in I had was Skarmory. If Skarmory got knocked off, it would lose Rocky Helmet, which was the only way I could punish Excadrill for rapid spinning away my hazards. My Stealth Rocks and Spikes were pretty much the only way of making progress in this game. Around turn 60, I finally got all the spikes up with Excadrill being very low, meaning he could never remove them for the rest of the game. This let me deal with his threats much better and remove heavy duty boots on multiple mons. After another while, I eventually won the game. It wasn't pretty, but I was happy with the result. After my game, Bundy played and lost. Suddenly, our hot 7-1 start didn't feel so safe anymore. Over the course of the next few days, we would get more losses from Axel, Bundy, and Poseidon Wrath. Ainsgrad, our Ubers player, ended this 4-game loss streak on the second to last day. Right after, Jordy won his second game too. We weren't in a bad spot, but we were going to have to close out strong in our last 3 matches on the last day of the qualifiers. The last day started with Ifar playing his second game. The game started out somewhat even, but Ifar just kept finding ways to apply pressure. In the end, he managed to win with DD Dragonite. Now there were just 2 games left. There was a lot of time between Ifar's game and our last 2 games, so we spent a big part of the day watching the other teams play to see how our odds were looking. This is roughly how the standings looked before our game. To explain the qualifying format in a bit more depth, the top 2 teams would qualify automatically, while the 3rd place team would play against the 6th place team for a slot, and the 4th place team would play against the 5th place team for a slot. If we win both of our last games, we would get the automatic qualification. If we won at least one of them, we would guarantee a spot in round 2 and have a chance at a tiebreaker for the 2nd slot. If we lost both, then we were probably out of the tournament. Luckily for us, the player who had to play both of our last games was considered one of our strongest, Mitch. He wasn't going to have it easy, however. Game for the Z then started out slow. When Mega Alakazam came in for the first time, however, it immediately picked up a kill. We got a kill right after, but then lost our Chansey, the only thing that could take multiple Alakazam hits. Both players started sacking mons, but it was clear that we weren't going to beat the Alakazam in Psychic Terrain, and we ended up losing the game. Mitch was feeling a bit demoralized after this one, which made things even worse as his last game would be right after this, and with us now having more results from other teams, we saw that losing here would now guarantee us being out of the tournament. The only bright spot is that our last opponent is on a team with 3 wins and 16 losses, but the opponent did also beat the player that Mitch lost to. It was now or never. Mitch had to win. The game starts off with our Tapu Fini against Kyurem Black. Both players opt to attack as we die to a Fusion Bolt crit. Not a great start. Mitch starts stressing and uses a Z move in panic. Celesteela walls him for a bit, but the Kyurem comes back in. We switch to Heatran on substitute. We take a big chunk from Fusion Bolt and we miss Magma Storm. Earth Power doesn't even break the sub. Kyurem kills Heatran. He sacks off Kyurem, but we miss Stone Edge. It was over. The last game that we needed to win, and we get lucked like this. Mitch predicts a Z Free Shock, but loses Landorus the next turn. The only thing we had left at this point was just Latias. Against 6 other Pokemon, our World Cup dream had faded. Wait, Latias is calm-minding, and the opponent isn't punishing it. Latias kills Kuram, but this Latias set cannot one-shot Medicham. As we were spectating, we could see Estuardo taking a while to click. He actually didn't have Ice Punch. Mitch just keeps setting up and roosting on this. We need Tapu Koko not to crit. We risk another chance of getting crit, but we lived. We kill Hawlucha, but Magearna can definitely kill us with a crit Flare Cannon. We gave him one more chance by roosting before, but he doesn't even try to crit as he clicks Iron Hat. Latias kills the Landorus, and we are officially in the tiebreaker. A 5-team tiebreaker for one single automatic qualifying spot is pretty much unheard of, so the format was kinda weird. Every team would play one SVOU match against each other, and whichever team finished with the best record got the spot. There was a lot of drama around this because it's a strange format and it only covered one tier out of the 6 played in qualifiers. And out of all 5 teams, we were the only one without a 2-0 SVOU player. We were going into this with a disadvantage. Still, we decided on our lineup. Axel would play 2 games, OGR would play 1, and I would play 1. I was still confident enough in my OU skills, even though I had been focusing on UU all tournament long. Expectations for us weren't great, but even losing the tiebreak wouldn't eliminate us. We would still get a chance in round 2. Our tiebreak started with a rematch of Axel vs Pikachu. In the endgame, all we needed to do was 1v1 and PP stall Zamazenta with Peturin. The Oxys couldn't switch in because it would die to hazards, but Zamazenta had other plans. Then it was my turn against Just Franco, one of the best UU players in the world. Early on, both of us set up hazards. I picked up a nice body slam paralysis on Ogerpon, which he definitely didn't expect to get punished. Something that immediately bothered me though was that Raging Bolt switched in and revealed leftovers. During testing, offensive Raging Bolt wasn't a problem, but a bulkier set definitely could be. I would Crown because I was scared of switching Tusk into a Dragon move, and I clicked Psychic Noise to block leftovers recovery, but it barely did anything. When I finally brought Tusk in, it did almost no damage against the Terra Bolt. This was a very defensive set. And now even Loki's first impression couldn't finish it. I managed to pick up some kills with Dark Bolt afterwards, but it was already slipping away. There was a tiny chance. If I went this speed tie, I might still be in it. I didn't. At 0-2, we couldn't win the tiebreaker anymore. Our focus shifted immediately to the round 2 matchup, our last chance to qualify. We went 1-1 in the remaining games, winning the tiebreak at 1-3. Now came the final step, round 2, a best of 9 series where the winner would qualify for the World Cup and the loser would be eliminated from the tournament. Just like all those years ago, our opponents were Team Asia. My opponent would be Xiri, a player that I respect a lot. I hate to bring similar teams twice in a row when it comes to team tournaments, but my friend passed me a stall team that I really liked, so I was testing that. Our first game was Oras, a game that went pretty back and forth. Ultimately, it was looking like we were going to lose to Excadrill, but we had a nice little surprise for it and won the game. One of our strongest players was up next. Partly thanks to some double Iron Bash flinches, however, we did lose that game. After that, it was time for Quinn to play. Offense against offense. We lost our Samurott turn 1. After a Iron Moth 1v1 to the death, our Scarf Goldengo ended up putting in work. Tusk chipped our team afterwards and the opponent's Iron Valiant cleaned up the game. Then our next game was somehow the third match of Axel against PKL in this tournament. In qualifiers like this, you're very unlikely to play against the same player twice, let alone 3 times. Luckily for us, we were on the winning side of this best of 3. The final day approached, and that's when I find out I was scheduled to play last, once again in the deciding game against Team Asia. It felt cruel how fate repeats itself. But last time I was terrified, but this time I was ready. Mitch was the first to play. Both he and his opponent ended up using Psychic Terrain teams, and that's now where the similarities end. Somehow, both players killed the opposing Landorus variant with their Magearnas. In a thrilling endgame, we needed our Hawlucha to outspeed their Hawlucha, which we did. And then we needed our Alakazam to outspeed theirs. only for us to grab a very narrow win. In OJR's game, the opponent made a very interesting play turn 1. Our Volcanion managed to also put in some big work. Playing safe after that, OJR managed to secure the win. We were now 1 win away from qualifying for the Pokemon World Cup. We had 3 games left, enough chances for us to win 1. Both our Ubers game and our OU game started at pretty much the same time, and Uber started rough, with us losing Koraidon turn 3. We were watching the game in VC with multiple of our team members, but we kinda gave up hope on the Ubers game early. Toxic spikes ended up being painful for us and we lost that one. Ivar's game was very close, but we assumed that we had lost. I was mentally getting prepared to play my game, but then something unexpected happened. The Goldango got outsped by our Moltres. Now we were winning. All we needed was one thing. Moltres had to avoid getting frozen by Ice Beam from the Oxys. It didn't freeze. We had done it. We had just qualified for the World Cup. It felt surreal. After everything that happened in previous years, after every choke, after every heartbreak, every time we were 1 game away, we were finally in. And the craziest part, I didn't even have to touch the field this time. But this wasn't the ending. This was just the beginning. Because qualifying is one thing, but surviving the actual World Cup, that's a whole different story. And trust me, the things that are about to happen next, I never could have predicted. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe so that you don't miss part 2 of this story.